I am pleased to be joined by ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Tennessee Titans and host of the Talking with TD podcast, Turron Davenport. Thanks for blessing the pod. I really appreciate your time, man. Now, I want to just acknowledge this elephant in the room right away. Marcus Mariota was benched in the late stages of the third quarter versus the Broncos last Sunday in favor of Ryan Tannehill. Were you surprised by the move, or was this something that had been gaining momentum that you sensed that another lackluster performance could lead to this result?
Well, first off, let me say I appreciate you having me in the lab. It's definitely good to be in here. You know, this is a show that I've watched and listened to for quite some time, so it's good to jump on here and talk a little shop. As far as Mariota is concerned, I'll tell you, funny story. I text my editor during halftime, and I said, you know what, I'm going to get this Mariota benching draft done. I think there's a chance that they could go to Tannehill to open up the second half. Now, of course, they didn't do that, but I kept the draft on ready to go mode. I kept it in the chamber, and sure enough, I was watching the sideline, and I saw Vrabel go over to Tannehill, and next thing you know, he picked up the ball and started throwing it. So I texted my editor. I said, hey, it's happening, and I'll say I expected it just because in that game, just because of how badly things were going.
Right.
It wasn't all on Mariota. However, there was enough to warrant having to do something to try to generate some type of spark because that defense was playing outstanding, and they were in the game,
right,
despite just a pitiful showing from the offense. So it's something I expected, just to give them a spark.
So in your mind, this should have been something that was temporary. You didn't think that this was something that would be lasting throughout the rest of the season.
The majority of me didn't think that, but then you had that part that's like, okay, you do that during a game, you might end up sticking with that, so that's kind of the mindset I had. But for me, I felt that it was time to just see, okay, this is yet another thing that we could kind of use to evaluate Mariota. That's how I felt my mindset was. And I think what they should have done was seeing how he bounced back from that adversity. Because you know how it is, man. Sometimes you go through something, your mindset and your approach just completely changes, and next thing you know, you're more productive. And I was wondering if that's what they were going to get from Mariota if he got the chance. And I was wondering if they were looking to give him that opportunity.
Yeah, and I saw an interview that he did, kind of talking about this is the first time he's been in this position before.
Yeah.
And so it would have been really interesting, and he might ultimately get that opportunity, down the road, depending on how Tannehill plays. And we know he's got an injury history himself, so there's no guarantees with him staying in the lineup the remainder of the year. But a lot of Titans fans that I've talked to and listened to, they seem to think that this is the beginning of the end of Marcus Mariota in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
You agree with that statement?
Yeah, I agree. I think after this year, there is no number 8 with Mariota on it here in Tennessee. And I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback, whether it's going to be Tannehill, if they go with a guy in the draft, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. I think those guys will be more in the range where they should probably finish. It's a tough situation for them quarterback-wise.
Yeah, and it's funny because, talking to these fans, they seem to believe that the Titans organization contributed to Mariota's decline. Multiple coaches and coordinators over the life of his career there, instability along the offensive line, inconsistent targets to throw to. Do you agree with that assessment? And what do you think is the biggest reason why Mariota isn't currently starting for the Tennessee Titans? Want to hear more of this and other Louie T Network podcast episodes? Click the link below.
Louie T Network.